Ethan Vale did not fail because he was lazy. He failed after doing almost everything right. That was the part no one wanted to hear. Because it is easier to believe that people lose everything because they made foolish choices, because they were careless, because they wasted money, because they did not work hard enough. But Ethan was careful, painfully careful. He was the kind of man who read the instructions before opening the box, the kind who kept receipts in a folder, the kind who arrived early to meetings, answered emails at night, and never let anyone wait on him. He believed life rewarded that. Not always quickly, not always fairly, but eventually. That was what he had been taught. Get the degree. Choose a stable field. Work hard. Save money. Do not complain. Do not take stupid risks. Build your life slowly. So Ethan did exactly that. He skipped parties to study. He took unpaid internships because people said they would open doors. He accepted his first job with a salary that barely covered rent because everyone told him experience was more important than comfort, and he believed them. He told himself the hard years were temporary. One day, the small apartment would become a house. The cheap meals would become nice dinners. The crowded bus rides would become a quiet car ride home. The stress would become security. He was not chasing luxury. Not really. He just wanted to feel safe. He wanted to look at his bank account and breathe. He wanted to wake up without fear. He wanted to know that if something went wrong, he had built enough of a wall around his life to survive it. So he became useful. At work, Ethan was the person managers trusted with boring, important things. Reports, spreadsheets, client updates, forecasts, internal systems, processes no one else wanted to understand. He learned every corner of the company. He knew which numbers mattered. He knew which clients always replied late. He knew which old files contained the answers no one could find. People called him reliable. For years, that word felt like a compliment, reliable. It sounded like stability. It sounded like value. It sounded like a future. When younger employees joined the company, Ethan trained them patiently. He showed them how to check the data twice, how to write careful summaries, how to notice mistakes before they became expensive. He took pride in that, not loud pride. Quiet pride, the kind a person feels when they know they are carrying something heavy without dropping it. Then, one Monday morning, the company introduced a new automation platform. It was presented with smiling slides and soft language. A tool to help everyone work faster. A system to reduce repetitive tasks. A way to unlock human creativity. No one said, "This will replace you." No one ever says that at the beginning. At first, Ethan liked it. The software created reports in seconds. It sorted customer messages. It summarized long documents. It found patterns in data that used to take him an entire afternoon. His manager asked him to help test it. "You know the process better than anyone," she said. And Ethan felt proud. That sentence stayed with him. You know the process better than anyone. So he helped. He recorded tutorials. He corrected the system when it misunderstood something. He uploaded old templates. He explained exceptions. He taught it what mattered and what did not. Every time the automation made a mistake, Ethan fixed it. Every time it missed context, Ethan added context. Every time it failed, Ethan made it better. Slowly, the system began to sound like him. Its reports used his structure. Its summaries followed his logic. Its alerts caught the errors he used to catch. People congratulated the team. Productivity was up. Turnaround time was down. Leadership was excited. Ethan was exhausted. But he told himself this was adaptation. This was the responsible thing to do. The world was changing, and smart people learned new tools. That was the rule now, wasn't it? So he learned. He stayed late to understand the dashboards. He watched training videos after dinner. He added new certificates to his profile. He told himself that as long as he kept improving, he would remain valuable. But something strange started happening. The better the system became, the less people asked Ethan questions. At first, they stopped asking for weekly reports. Then they stopped asking him to review client summaries. Then meetings he used to lead became meetings he was only invited to watch. His calendar grew emptier. His inbox became quieter. The silence did not feel peaceful. It felt like being erased politely. One afternoon, Ethan saw a new internal dashboard with his old workflow mapped beautifully across the screen. Every task had a status. Every delay had an alert. Every decision had a suggested action. It was clean, fast, impressive. And there was almost nothing left for him to do. He stared at the screen for a long time. Not because he did not understand it, because he understood it too well. He had helped build the thing that made him unnecessary. Still, he did not panic. Panic was not part of the plan. He kept showing up early. He kept offering help. He kept asking where he could add value, but the answers became smaller. Just keep an eye on it. Maybe review the exceptions. We'll let you know. Then came the meeting. It was scheduled for 15 minutes. No meeting that changes your life should be allowed to last only 15 minutes. His manager looked tired. Human resources looked professional. Everyone used gentle voices. They said the company was restructuring. They said market conditions had changed. They said automation had improved efficiency. They said Ethan's role had been impacted. Impacted. Such a soft word for losing the ground under your feet. Ethan listened quietly. He nodded at the right moments. He thanked them for the opportunity. Even then, even while being removed from the life he had built, he behaved correctly. Because Ethan knew how to behave correctly. That had always been his strength. He packed his desk into a small cardboard box. There was not much inside. A notebook full of old meeting notes. A mug with a tiny chip near the handle. A security badge that stopped opening doors before he left the building. Outside, the city kept moving. Cars passed. Coffee shops stayed full. People walked by carrying laptops and gym bags and groceries. The world did not pause for Ethan's disaster. That was the first thing he noticed. How ordinary everything looked while his life was breaking. At home, he opened his laptop. He updated his resume. He changed managed reports to optimized operational workflows. He changed trained automation system to supported digital transformation. He tried to make the thing that replaced him sound like an achievement. For the first few weeks, he was disciplined. He woke up at the same time. He applied to jobs every morning. He tracked applications in a spreadsheet. He wrote cover letters. He practiced interview answers. He treated unemployment like a job. Because that was what responsible people did. But the job market felt different now. Some companies wanted one person to do the work of 3. Some wanted experience with tools released 6 months ago. Some offered salaries lower than what he had earned years earlier. Some never replied at all. And everywhere, quietly, the same sentence appeared in different forms. We are looking for someone comfortable working with AI and automation. Ethan was comfortable with automation. That was the cruel joke. He had trained it, managed it, improved it. But companies did not want someone who used to do the work before automation. They wanted someone who could oversee 5 automated systems at once, create strategy, write prompts, analyze data, manage clients, and accept a smaller paycheck with a smile. So Ethan kept learning. Another course, another certificate, another video explaining the future of work. Every expert online sounded confident. Adapt or get left behind. Learn AI or become obsolete. Build a personal brand. Create multiple income streams. Stop thinking like an employee. The advice was not completely wrong. That almost made it worse. Because Ethan was trying. He was not refusing the future. He was chasing it with tired eyes and a shrinking savings account. Month by month, the life he had built began to disappear. First, he canceled subscriptions. Then he stopped eating out. Then he delayed dental work. Then he sold the watch he had bought after his first promotion, not because it was expensive, because it reminded him of a version of himself who believed progress was permanent. His savings became a countdown. Rent, insurance, groceries, utilities, each payment erased another piece of his safety. He had done everything people told him to do. He had saved instead of spending. He had avoided debt. He had been careful. But careful money disappears quickly when income stops and life keeps charging you. The hardest part was not the fear, it was the shame. Ethan felt ashamed, even though he could not find the exact mistake. He replayed his life like a detective searching for the crime. Should he have changed industries earlier? Should he have taken more risks? Should he have started something on the side? Should he have seen it coming? But how do you see a system changing when everyone inside it keeps telling you the same old rules? Work hard, be loyal, stay patient, keep improving. Ethan had improved. That was the point. He had improved until the machine could learn from him. He had been loyal until the company no longer needed loyalty. He had been patient until patience became another word for waiting too long. One evening, he sat at his kitchen table with his laptop open and no applications left to send. The room was quiet, not peaceful, just quiet. The kind of quiet that makes a person hear the refrigerator humming, the clock ticking, and the small panic inside their own chest. On the screen was a job posting for a role almost identical to the one Ethan had lost. But the description was different now. One person would manage automated reporting, customer insights, internal workflows, AI-generated summaries, and cross-functional operations. The salary was lower. The expectations were higher. The company called it a modern role. Ethan stared at that phrase, modern role. It meant the same work still existed, just not as a job for someone like him. The work had been broken apart, compressed, automated, and handed to fewer people. That was when Ethan finally understood. He had not fallen behind because he stopped moving. He had fallen behind because the floor itself had moved. For years, he thought success was a contract. If he gave the system effort, loyalty, discipline, and time, the system would return safety. But there had never been a contract, only a story. A story that worked for some people in some decades under some conditions. And Ethan had mistaken that story for a law of nature. He was not alone. That realization hurt even more, because once he saw it, he saw them everywhere. The accountant whose reports were now generated automatically. The designer whose drafts were now produced in seconds. The support agent replaced by a chatbot trained on years of human conversations. The analyst whose insights became a dashboard. The writer whose style was absorbed by tools that never slept. The recruiter replaced by filters. The assistant replaced by scheduling software. The middle manager replaced by metrics. So many people had done what they were told. They became skilled. Then their skills became data. They became experienced. Then their experience became a process. They became reliable. Then reliability became something a system could imitate well enough. Not perfectly, just cheaply. And in many companies, cheaply was enough. That was the part no motivational speech could soften. Automation did not need to be better than Ethan at being Ethan. And it only needed to be good enough for someone above him to save money. Ethan had spent his life trying not to become disposable. But the economy had found a way to dispose of careful people too. This is not a story about hating technology. Technology is not evil because it becomes powerful. Automation can remove boring work. It can help people. It can create new opportunities. It can make small teams capable of things that once required entire departments. But when a system becomes more efficient without becoming more humane, ordinary people pay the price first. And they are often told it is their fault. They should have adapted faster. They should have learned sooner. They should have predicted the future. They should have built a brand, a business, a network, a portfolio, a backup plan, a second income, and a new identity while also working full-time and trying to survive. Ethan understood adaptation mattered, but he also understood something people rarely say out loud. You can adapt and still lose. You can learn and still be replaced. You can do everything right according to the rules you were given and still discover that the rules were written for a world that no longer exists. That was Ethan's mistake, not discipline, not loyalty, not patience. His mistake was believing those things were enough by themselves. He thought being a good worker would protect him from a system that no longer needed as many workers. He thought being responsible would protect him from an economy that kept raising the cost of ordinary life. He thought avoiding risk would keep him safe. But sometimes the biggest risk is building your whole life around the assumption that tomorrow will reward yesterday's rules. Months later, Ethan still woke up early. That part of him did not disappear. He still made coffee, still opened his laptop, still tried. But something in him had changed. He no longer asked, "What rules should I follow?" He began asking, "Who benefits from me following them?" He no longer asked, "How do I become more employable?" He began asking, "How do I become harder to erase?" He no longer believed every expert with a clean slide deck and confident voice. He had learned that advice can be outdated and still sound wise. He had learned that stability can be a feeling, not a fact. He had learned that a job can look secure right until the day a software update turns it into a cost problem. And he had learned the most painful lesson of all. A life can collapse without one dramatic mistake. Sometimes ruin arrives quietly. Through polite emails, through new tools and through smaller teams, through higher rent, through jobs that ask for more and pay less. Through a world that changes faster than honest people can rebuild themselves. Ethan did not lose everything because he ignored the future. He lost because he trusted the past too much. And maybe that is the warning inside his story. Hard work still matters. Discipline still matters. Learning still matters, but none of them are magic shields, not anymore. Because the old playbook was built for a world where education led to employment, employment led to stability, and stability led to a life you could slowly improve. That world has not disappeared completely, but it is cracking. And if you are still following every rule without looking up, you may not be building safety. You may only be becoming easier to manage, easier to measure, and eventually easier to replace. The tragedy of Ethan Vale is not that he failed while doing everything wrong. The tragedy is that he failed while doing everything right for the wrong version of the world.